G'day, great to be with you. I'd like to thank the Future Work Summit for the opportunity to provide some insights on collaborative work we're doing with partners here in the US to capitalise on the opportunities to reshape our economy and our workforce. Thanks also to the host of our panel and MC of the summit, the indefatigable Maria McNamara, for her invitation to speak. She is a force of nature and so important in bringing all of us together in the innovation ecosystem. Today, I'd like to briefly focus on 4 key areas: collaborating across borders, space, quantum technologies, and energy, and to look at opportunities for our future workforce in those areas. As a former Minister for Industry, Innovation and Science, I have a keen interest in how Australia and the US can share experience and learn from each other in these areas. Disruption is the new constant. Adapting to change, managing change, preparing for change. This is the mindset necessary for all of us to thrive and survive in the future. We're witnessing a period of significant geopolitical, economic and social upheaval, disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and rapid technological and climate change. We need to be agile in our responses. The resilience of the United States, its capacity for change and propensity for innovation make it an indispensable partner in facing up to these challenges. The Australia-US bilateral relationship goes from strength to strength, and this cooperation, combined with our shared interests and values, provides a solid foundation for Australia and the US to work together as our economies continue to change and evolve. The US is our second largest trading partner and biggest investor, and Australians invest more in the US than they do in any other country. We continue to work with US and Australian businesses to support investment in a range of sectors, including critical minerals and critical and emerging technologies. AUKUS, the Enhanced Defence Capability Partnership between Australia, the US and the UK, which was announced in September last year, is an example of how we are modernising our partnerships to deal expressly with this new and uncertain environment. The nuclear-powered submarine program will create jobs in Australia over the coming decades, but AUKUS also offers so many opportunities for collaboration beyond submarine capability, which was the natural headline grabber. It will also usher in a new age of trilateral cooperation that will enhance our joint capabilities and interoperability in cyber, artificial intelligence, and quantum technologies. AUKUS will be a partnership where our technology, our scientists, our industry, and our defence forces all work together to deliver a safer and more secure region that ultimately benefits all. We're also deepening our technology partnerships through the Quad. Together with India, Japan, and the United States, Australia is working to harness our respective nations' capabilities to enhance the resilience of Indo-Pacific supply chains and foster an open, accessible, and secure technology ecosystem. At September's first in-person Quad leaders meeting in Washington, DC, leaders agreed to strengthen lines of effort across a number of very important areas, including combating climate change, critical and emerging technology, cybersecurity, quality infrastructure, and the sustainable and stable use of outer space. Collaboration on critical and emerging technologies such as AI and quantum computing is essential, as these areas will fundamentally change the way we work and live. Our challenge is who sets the rules, and therefore who benefits most economically and geopolitically by being in on the ground floor. Australia will continue to advocate for a global rules-based order where the design and development, governance and use of technology is shaped by our shared democratic values and respect for universal human rights. Let's talk now about quantum. As part of efforts to build Australia's capabilities and ensure a resilient workforce, Prime Minister Morrison announced the release of the Critical Technologies Blueprint at the Sydney ASPE Dialogue last November. Importantly, it includes the establishment of a quantum commercialisation hub and a national quantum strategy. The hub will foster strategic partnerships with like-minded countries to commercialise Australia's quantum research and help Australian businesses access new markets and investors. During the development of the National Quantum Strategy, we'll be looking to partner with the US government and companies. We want to jointly expand our quantum industries, research and commercialisation, skills exchange and collaboration on standards. To this end, in November 2021, our government signed a joint statement of cooperation on quantum to boost collaboration on quantum science and technology between our two countries. This augurs well for our cooperation going forward. Another area where Australia and the United States have a long history of cooperation is space. This is one of my favourites, going back to the earliest days of NASA's space missions in the 1960s. Australia has important strengths in space technology, such as our unique location to launch and communicate with space, our know-how in robotics, sensors and automation, our R&D capabilities, and our highly skilled workforce. Space is one of the key sectors identified as a priority in our $1.5 billion Australian manufacturing strategy, announced last year. Under the strategy, the Australian government developed a roadmap for space and offered significant grant funding. The US remains the world's most significant and rapidly evolving space sector, with the largest government space budget and commercial space industry. A number of US companies have expressed interest in Australian launch sites, and I attended a round table with a number of these companies when Trade Minister Dan Tehan visited the US last July. During that visit, Minister Tehan announced that the Australian and US governments would negotiate a technology safeguards agreement that will enable US companies to use Australian launch sites once the agreement has been finalised. I'm really looking forward to attending the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs in April, which will showcase some of what Australia has to offer. And there is a lot we can do in this space. Energy is another priority area for cooperation between Australia and the United States. From my position in Washington, I'm aware of how well positioned Australia is to support the US as it looks to develop domestic supply chains for renewable energy, advanced batteries, electric vehicles, and other clean technologies. Secure, reliable, and sustainable sources of critical minerals are crucial for US national security and for achieving the administration's ambitious climate goals. Australian companies are already developing cobalt, lithium, graphite, and rare earth projects in the US that will support a clean energy transition. And Australia is among the top 5 global producers for battery minerals such as lithium, the largest at 49% of global production, and rare earths, where we're the 4th largest producer at 9%. Domestically, the US administration has set itself an ambitious goal of reducing emissions by 50 to 52% by 2030. Recognizing that one of the US's priorities is constructing a national network of electric vehicle chargers, Australia is already collaborating with the US in this space. Last year, Brisbane-based Tritium announced that it would be providing technology to EV Gateway, a charging station management network, to provide a turnkey changing solution for Southern California parks and beaches. And Tritium's CEO, Jane Hunter, I was so proud of this, stood alongside President Biden at the White House last month to announce a new tritium factory in Tennessee, a facility that will produce 10,000 DC fast charger units per year with the potential to increase production to approximately 30,000 a year at peak capacity. International collaboration through practical projects is crucial to lowering the cost of low emissions technologies across global supply chains. I'm looking forward to the summit on clean energy supply chains that the Prime Minister has proposed for later this year to explore what is possible by working together. This can provide a real solution, particularly for developing countries, to reduce the cost of meeting their energy goals. But all of this can't happen unless we have talented people in the right jobs. Recognizing the importance of harnessing and building strong networks of talent, particularly in the fields of critical and emerging technologies, Quad leaders have agreed to sponsor new Quad fellowships, which will enable 100 students per year to study at top STEM graduate schools across the United States. I'm really excited about this. The fellowships will develop a network of science and technology experts committed to advancing innovation and collaboration in the private, public, and academic sectors in their own nations and among Quad countries. The program will build a foundational understanding among Quad scholars of each other's societies and cultures through cohort-wide trips and robust programming with each country's top scientists, technologists, and politicians. We're excited that applications for the inaugural fellowship will open soon, with the first cohort to commence in the academic year 2023. I want to turn to global talent more generally. And here I wish to commend the work of Peter Verver, the Prime Minister's Special Envoy for Global Business and Talent Attraction. His work reflects a new mindset in Australia about going out to meet the market, to bring business to Australia, and making it easier to bring the best and brightest, wherever they are in the world, to live and work in Australia. Let me conclude by saying that Australia, like the United States, is committed to promoting global rules and norms, including as they relate to the development and deployment of technology. As President Biden has said, we're encountering an era of new technologies and possibilities that have the potential to release and reshape every aspect of human existence. And it's up to all of us to determine whether these technologies are a force to empower people or to deepen repression. In this vein, I want to talk particularly about AI. Australia is one of only 15 founding members of the Global Partnership on AI, a coalition working to ensure that AI is used responsibly and respects human rights and democratic values. The recent announcement by the United States that they are developing an Indo-Pacific economic framework also presents us with an opportunity to progress many of these initiatives, including, importantly, regional digital trade norms and other initiatives such as closer cooperation on critical supply chains. Our continued focus on cooperation with the US and other partners is the key. It will help us to capitalise on the wealth of new opportunities presented by critical and emerging technologies, space, cyber, AI, and our pool of brilliant talent. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you. Have a great summit.